All right, we'll go with this. For some reason I can't get my pen to work. Right? Going penless. Okay, so building blocks. The first week, 2 weeks, first chapter, chapter and a half is a lot of vocabulary in this class. So we need to establish a language where we can all talk about the same thing using the same terms. Today we're going to get a whole bunch of terms. Actually, you'll have 4 definitions. Most of the time, when we come across definitions, you guys will write the definitions, which gets kind of weird because the definitions that you write in here could be different from the definitions that, let's say, first period uses, or the definition that 8th period uses. That's okay. It works. And we'll make it work. But today we're going to start talking about, before we get to the 4 definitions at the end that I'm just going to give you for a change, we're going to start talking about 3 undefined terms. And so before we talk about the geometric undefined terms, what I would like to know is, can somebody give me an example of an undefined term? A word that you need, a word that you use that you know what it means, or you know how to use it, but you can't really define the word. Don't be bashful. Oh, by the way, I'm still learning names, so if don't be surprised if I ask you to tell me your name before we start conversing, before I start calling on people. Nothing? How about dog? Is that an undefined term?
Yeah.
It is?
Because you know what a dog is, but can you... Wait, no, you can define that.
Yeah. Go. Tell me your name first, sorry.
Audrey.
Audrey, what do you got?
Like the word the.
That's a pretty good example I never considered. You know how to use it. You know what it is. What is it, a participle? Or? I don't even know what it's called. That's why I went into math. I can barely read. But we don't necessarily know how to define it. Okay, good start. Others? Are you raising your hand?
Yeah.
Okay, tell me your name.
Antanas.
Antanas, what do you got for me?
It's not like 0 divided by 0. One of them.
But is that a term or is it a math problem?
Math problems sort of.
Dividing by 0 is in fact undefined because we don't have a way to explain it.
Yes.
Okay. Yes or no? Yeah, we'll give him that one. Nobody's, it's the first week, nobody's gonna, this is a dumb idea. Nobody's gonna turn on him now. Give him a week. What else? Nothing. How about time? What's time? What's time? Hmm?
I know what it is, but
Tell me, what is it? What do you know about the word?
I keep track of it.
Okay, so how do you keep track of it?
Like a watch.
A watch, stopwatch. Okay, the sun. So you can talk about you can describe all kinds of things about time, right? Can you actually define the term? No. What do you got?
Love?
Oof. Now it just became a philosophy class. You can't define love? You started this mess.
No. Well, we can't really explain it. It's more...
You ever been in love? Why you laugh? Straightforward question, isn't it? Right? So ask the guy who's ever been in love. You ever been in love? You love your dog?
I don't have a dog.
You love your cat?
Don't have a
Do you have any pets?
4 rabbits.
4 rabbits.
Yeah.
Do you love any of your rabbits?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's love? Love your parents?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
But what's like a dictionary definition?
Well, I'm not, I got a dictionary back there, I can go look it up, but I'm asking you, what's love?
Well, that's kind of.
Anybody else have a pet rabbit? I thought I'd throw it out there. Anybody else have parents? Okay, good. Anybody else love their parents? Okay, good. So do you think that your love for your parents is the same as her love for her? Did you raise your hand? Okay, good. Do you think it's the same as her love for her parents?
I don't know actually. Because I don't know her parents.
But you know her.
Not
Sitting
really.
right- Oh, we introduce each other. Go ahead, meet each other. That's it? You love your parents? Do you think your love for your parents is the same as his love for his parents? Why not?
Because everyone has different opinions.
But you're saying love is an opinion.
Like, love has different definitions.
So because it has okay, so, tell me your name again, I forget. Olivia? Is your perception of time the same as my perception of time? So you might feel like this 48 minutes took like 3 days. That was a joke. 48, because it's, anyways. I might feel like it's over in 5 minutes. Different perceptions of time, right? Different perceptions of love.
Yeah.
You might love your parents the exact same way. You might not. But can we define that word love?
No.
So, can you describe love?
Well, yeah.
So when you're holding your little rabbits at home, you get a feeling like, oh, googly noises and right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, so you could describe love, right? Is your love for your rabbits different than your love for your parents?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you probably don't grab your dad. What's you with that? Because that would be really weird.
Yeah.
So, yes or no on love being an undefined term?
No.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. How many think yes? Undefined term.
Undefined.
How many think no? Okay.
No, it's not.
For those of you that said yes, I think we agree, we talked about that, yeah?
Yeah.
For those of you that say no, why no? Audrey, why no?
I don't know, because it's different for everyone else, it's kind of hard to like define or explain.
So you do think it's an undefined term?
Oh, yeah.
You voted incorrectly.
Yeah.
Okay, who said no? Tell me your name.
Kevin,
Kevin, what do you got for me?
I think it's when like you're attached to something, so like you enjoy being around something, so that can go for anything.
Do you love your PS4?
Yes.
I love mine too. But is your love for your PS4 the same as your love for Liam's rabbits?
In his terms, yeah.
Okay.
He likes
But you don't love Liam's rabbits?
No.
He took offense to that. So you're saying it's not an undefined term, and you're defining it as just an attachment to something.
Yeah.
So what's the difference between loving and liking? Are you attached to your friends?
Yes.
Do you love your friends?
Some of them.
Okay. Do you really love your PS4? Are
Yeah.
you a PS4 guy?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you really love your PS4?
Yes.
If it died, would you be upset?
Yes.
PS4 don't die.
Well, but they break. I mean, same thing. I know it's not a living entity, thank you.
The controller dies.
The controller dies, but you fix it by just plugging in and charging it.
Well, it doesn't die, it just runs out of energy, it's like sleeping.
No, it's dead. It's dead. It's dead.
Has no one ever told you about death, Liam?
I know about that.
Like when people are sleeping, sometimes they're not really sleeping.
But in the case of the controller, you just change the batteries and.
You don't change batteries. PS4.
You just plug it in.
Oh, I don't know if you explained it.
That was
No,
nerd
not
edition.
Sony
No,
guy.
you don't change batteries so the PS4.
When I think of Sony, I think of the emoji movies.
Where am I going with this? All right, let's just move on. The love thing is. Bottom line is, love. I would consider love an undefined term because everybody experiences love in different ways. So the love that you have for your rabbits would be different than the love you have for your PS4 would be different than the love you have for your parents, or your wife, or your kids, or the neighbor, or your mailman, or whoever else shows up. And I don't wanna go down that weird creepy path with the mailman, so let's just move on to this. Here's our first term. We're gonna spend a lot of time on this one term, because everything from this point on is built with these things. Okay? That's why this section is called building blocks. So what's a point? Jake,
Yeah.
go.
Depends on which kind of point you're talking about. Like you're talking
Well, yeah, this point,
like,
this point,
so like pointing, like,
that point, right, that's what I said. But that's not the one we're talking about.
which one are we talking about then?
Geometric point.
So like a dot?
What's the point of this class?
Oh, ba-dum-bum.
Is that what you're talking about though? Like the dot? Like a point?
A dot or a point?
Point.
Point.
Like, okay. So you're
Wait,
talking
wait,
about
wait, here,
like,
I can't, here, come up here.
okay,
I won't hurt you.
alright. So you're talking about like that thing?
What's this guy? Does that have a
That's a
tail?
No, that's just a line.
Oh, no, no, we don't wanna use words we don't know.
Okay, well, that.
That thing.
The arrow?
No, he's just, I hate, I'm gonna say this, but I'm gonna regret it. He's pointing to the point. Okay? Does everybody agree that that's a point?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, that's a good start.
Or is it a mark?
That's why I drew the line.
What's that?
The dog.
No.
The drawing.
There we go. It's a drawing of a dog. Okay? Not a corgi, by the way. This is a drawing of a dog. Well, that's a stupid statement, but it's relevant. Is that a point?
Yeah. No, it's a drawing of a point.
It's a drawing of a point. So what's the difference between that? What'd you call this, Jake, by the way?
Point.
What was the other word you used?
A dot.
A dot. For our purposes, we're gonna consider that a dot. So what's the difference between a point and a dot? Why is that not a point? Okay, but love is undefined and you can express love. Time is undefined, but you can watch the hands on a clock move. I'll come back to you. What do you got?
So it's like a place where something like starts or ends on a drawn thing.
Just had to get the thing in there at the last second. Okay. Point or dot? Oh, it says dot. What about this?
Or bigger dot.
Big or dot?
Bigger dot.
Okay? Pretend I'm shading this in. By the way, this will work really well in the video.
Even
Bigger dot.
A dot, not a point. How do I get this to be a point?
You have to refer to it as a point.
I just gotta call it a point and it becomes a point? It would be nice if life were just that easy. Name?
Brendan,
Brendan, what do you got?
maybe like put it in a graph and add like data.
The problem is if you put it in a graph is that it limits where it has to be, and we wanna be able to put points anywhere so we can build things with it.
Like
Name?
Hannah.
Hannah?
If so, right now it's a dot. It's just kind of floating in space. If you put it on a specific area, like if you want it to go somewhere, then
I want it to come over here. Is that a point now?
Yes.
That's why you put a line on it.
So this is not a point, it's a dot.
Well, like
But
if in like geometric standards, if you put it on like a line, for example, then
And using words I don't understand. Name?
Faith,
Faith, what do you got?
put two line segments so that,
Oh, again, words I don't understand.
put two lines so that, they connect at the dot, like this.
Now it's a point? Hmm. What else you got? What were you gonna say?
Don't take me.
Chickening out?
I just don't know. Like I had what I was gonna say, and now I don't know.
What if I go the other way? What about that?
Smaller dot.
Smaller dot. I don't know if I can do. What about that?
Molecule.
That doesn't
Can't
look
see
like
it.
anything. You can't see it.
You'll have to trust me on this one. There's a mark there. These are all dots. That's great. We still don't know what that is though.
I don't like
Okay, so how do you describe it?
can't.
You can't?
No.
So we're just gonna stop and move on.
Yeah.
So we're gonna use a word that we can't describe and can't define.
Or you can describe it as a dot. Like that's not what it is, but you can describe it. But
It's a point.
Okay, so we can't define it, but we can describe it as a dot.
yeah.
Just like I don't have a dog, but I can use this to represent a dog. That's not horrible. What do you got?
Is it a place on the line?
Name, sorry.
Caroline,
Caroline, what do you got?
is it a place on the line?
I don't know what that L word means. Other than love, I know what love is.
And
So we'll come back to you in a minute.
Can I define line for you?
Not yet. Gotta wait to slide. So we're gonna agree to just not define it,
No.
not describe it.
Yeah.
And that's not gonna work. Cause I gotta put things together. I gotta use these things to build other things. I'm gonna use those things to build that L word that Caroline just talked about, not the love word. So what are we gonna do about a point?
Like, the dot might already be a point.
It might.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, it could just be in any place and you consider it a point, like, that point is on the whiteboard. Like, I don't know,
So now you're talking location.
yeah,
Where are you located right now?
in the back of the classroom,
Which classroom?
geometry classroom, your classroom.
Do you remember the number?
trace 4.
334. Yeah. So you're in room 334 where?
Third floor at Prospect.
Third floor at Prospect High School in,
Arlington High, no, this is not.
this is Mount Prospect, it's Prospect High School, yeah?
Oh, I know what it's in.
In,
And,
in America, in, or on, I guess we could go, well, we go to North America,
North America.
then Earth, then solar system, and
Why is it just called solar system?
stop it, universe. You wanna contribute to this?
Wait,
Go.
not the Milky Way.
it's a part of something.
Milky Galaxy goes through.
It's a part of something bigger. Kinda, cause we're gonna take those things and make them into bigger things. Let's come back to the location discussion. Mount Prospect, Prospect High School, room 334, Hannah's desk. Done? No? We can get more specific? How?
Yes.
Just make it Hannah.
I'm sorry?
The next one is Hannah.
I can see that.
Okay, then what? Then we're done.
I think so.
She's made of cells.
Ooh.
No, no, she's made of organs and like stuff that are made of
Organs,
tissues, but are made of cells, made of
No.
cell you think, and then we go to atoms.
Organs is
Cells,
organelles.
and the cells are made out of
organelles,
organelles.
and
Getting
then
awful nerdy.
I didn't really
Then
want
atoms.
that. But like,
and
okay.
then-
Atoms?
Yeah,
And
Well, before atoms, you got
molecules.
molecules and then atoms.
Then atoms.
So atoms is
Then we're
it,
done.
you stop at atoms.
We're done. We're done.
Done with atoms. Everybody agree?
I thought we were done.
Can't get any smaller than atoms.
That's why they call atoms.
Yeah, you probably.
That's part of an atom.
Reached out there.
Still,
Technically the nucleus, but
yeah.
Can you go subatomic?
yeah, no.
Yeah.
Let's not get dangling metaphorical here.
It's not dangling, it's a fact. You can, bosons, all kinds of fun little subatomic particles. Can we go smaller than that?
Light particles.
How small can we go?
Very.
Let's Google it.
There's a Vsauce video for that.
There's a what?
Vsauce video.
I don't know what Vsauce is.
It's a dank. Wait, no, it's a guy who does a lot of interesting science questions. He's really smart.
I understand.
You guys. Like,
Oh, he doesn't die.
Hannah, once we get down to your subatomic particles, can we go any smaller?
I don't know.
Possibly.
It's a good, safe answer.
There's a lot of empty
I
space.
can't remember if there's something smaller than that or not, so.
There
There might be,
might be.
I can't remember.
Well, we do want to go smaller, because we want an exact location when we talk about points. And that's, in essence, what the way we're going to describe a point is it being an exact location. And the tricky part is that word exact. How exact can we get?
very.
Very. And the problem is, if I want to talk about an exact location, I can't draw anything that specific, or I wouldn't be able to see it. We can't see atoms and molecules with the naked eye. But I want to be able to see it, so we switch back to this idea of using a dot to represent the point.
So it is a dot.
No. This isn't the dog.
This is a drawing of-
We use a dot to represent a point.
Okay.
Okay. Now, this might bother some of you. We're going to make the statement that we want it so small that that point has no shape nor size. So we keep going more and more and more exact until we get so exact that it has no size. So I got a cup in my hand. How many points can I put inside the cup? Infinite. Very good. Everybody okay with that? If it has no size, I can just keep dumping points into the cup and never fill the cup. Are we good with that idea? Good. How many points would fit in this room?
More infinite.
More infinite?
Well, still infinite.
Still infinite.
Yeah.
Debate.
Same amount as could put in the cup.
Whoa, hold on. You're saying the same, I have a cup full of points, and I have a room full of points, and you're saying they're the same number of points.
Yeah, cause if it's infinite, then you can put as many points as you want in the cup, and you can put as many points, as you want in the room. And you said earlier it has
Yeah.
neither nor shape nor size.
But the cup's inside the room.
And the room actually.
What are you, Harry Potter?
It's not a TARDIS.
Oh, that's a good one too.
Or maybe it is. If
You wanna
think
stay
about
with that?
it. Well, maybe
Does that bother anybody?
Well,
Yeah.
Clearly.
The idea that the number of points in the cup that's inside the room is the same as the number of points that are inside the room. It should be bothersome, because it makes absolutely no sense.
Like the TARDIS.
It's infinite, and infinity doesn't make any sense. And that's gonna cause some problems for some of you, because you're used to working with very definitive answers. Okay? We'll get there eventually. Alright, so what else do we need to know about a point? We need to know that, how to name it. So here's a point down there at the bottom. That's not a point, actually, that's a dot that I'm using to represent the point. And we name points by using capital letters. So that's a point X. So anytime you see a capital letter, it refers to a point. Ooh, I have to start talking faster. Okay, are we good to go?
Wait.
How many dimensions
3.
for a point?
2.
Hmm?
Two.
2. What are they?
X and Y.
But it has no size.
Is it? Are we talking about the dot or the point?
Point, not dot.
Oh.
Dot has 2 dimensions, I agree. Point has
All of them. Oh.
No, you can't have all dimensions.
What's
One.
None, because it doesn't have any size or shape.
So how many dimensions?
0.
0, correct. Okay, there's nothing to measure there. Since there's nothing to measure, it has 0 dimensions. Well, how can it be there? It can't, again, infinity, very strange, gives you a headache. To make your life a little bit easier, let's think about the points as being dots now. And we put a bunch of dots next to each other, and we eventually get this thing that Caroline called a line. So Caroline, what's a line?
You're lying.
How weird is that? That wasn't planned, was it?
Huh?
Caroline. What's a line?
Is it an undefined term?
It is? Can you describe a line?
Yeah.
Go.
It's kind of, I don't know.
How big is it?
It can be as big as you wanna make it.
Okay. Anything else?
There's different kinds of lines, like you can have a ray or a number line.
Look at you throwing all these big words around. I don't know what a ray is. You know what a ray is? I don't know. Okay. Brennan.
A line goes like off of like a point and show kind of like direction.
It has a direction.
I think so.
Okay. You don't know what a line is? Can you draw a line?
Oh yeah, you can draw a line segment and a line.
Are you using the S word?
Oh, sorry.
I don't know what that means.
Oh, you can draw a line, yeah.
I heard somebody else. We heard from you too, didn't we?
I just have a
Or are you just
question.
fixing your hair? That wasn't a hand raise? Were you raising your hand? Oh, hair fixed.
I have a question.
So, question, yes.
Does it like actually exist?
Does
Like-
this actually exist?
Yeah, like the point is like, I don't know, it's not actually like there.
There's a point.
There's a line actually there, like before we argue about.
Okay,
that.
can you hold, that's a great question. Can you hold on to that?
Yeah,
Let's get a description of a line first,
okay,
and then we'll come back and answer your question.
okay.
So we take these, okay, go ahead. Name, please, sorry.
Katina.
Tina.
Right, like, I guess that a line would be a drawing of something that doesn't have, it has neither shape nor size and it shows direction.
Hold on. Audrey, what do you got?
line is never ending.
Oh, I like that. But if it has no size, how can it never end?
Doesn't have
Infinity.
Does it need to have
Yeah.
Alright, hold on. Do you all agree that this is a line? It's not.
what?
It's not. Oh, what's that? What is in you were shocked or is you didn't hear me?
Both.
Oh, okay, I understand. That's not a line. What is that?
a drawing.
It's a drawing of a line. Why are there arrowheads there?
To show it never ends.
Show it never ends. Correct. It goes on forever. So the easiest way to take this freaky point thing and translate it into a line is to think of points as like dots, golf balls, tennis balls. You line up a bunch of golf balls, and if I did it right here on Liam's desk, you'd see a bunch of golf balls. What would happen if I back up? What happens to the size of the golf balls?
They get smaller.
They get smaller. And as I continue to back up, it'll continue to get smaller and smaller and smaller. You can think of this line as being a bunch of points lined up next to each other. And if you stay with the concept of a point being infinitely small, that's going to scramble your noodle. So now think of that line as being built with a bunch of dots. Or golf balls, or tennis balls. Put them all next to each other, keep going forever and ever and ever, and all of a sudden you have a line. So Katina, getting back to your statement, yes. If we stayed with the point, as we described it earlier, then a line is a mess. If we think of it as dots, then we can start to wrap our brain around it. How are you gonna name a line? Well, there are an infinite number of points on that line. I just picked 2 of them and made them special for the day. I picked that guy and called it B. I picked that guy and called it C. So one way to name the line is to use the 2 points BC or CB, doesn't matter. I'll also sometimes refer to a line by a lowercase letter, such as line M. Either one gets the job done. We'll get some practice of that in a little bit. Oh boy. Okay, I'm gonna talk faster. So we took a point that had no dimensions, stretch it in one dimension, now all of a sudden it has one dimension or a direction, call that a line. Now if I take that line and stretch it in the other dimension, I now have 2 dimensions, and everything we do is 2-dimensional in here until second semester. Okay, it's called Euclidean geometry because everything happens on a flat surface. That flat surface is called a plane, which is our third undefined term. Okay, think of a plane as an infinitely large piece of paper. It's a piece of paper that keeps going on and on and on. We don't talk about this very much because everything that you do, you're doing on a plane. The notebook that you're writing in is a plane. The iPad that you'll work on later is a plane. The smartboard is a plane. So because everything happens on that plane, we have a tendency to not bother with it. 2 ways to name it. Pick any 3 points on the plane and name it that way. So that would be plane ABC. Or you could use a fancy capital letter script. We don't use that very often, but it is another way to name a plane. The easiest way is to pick 3 points. Okay, that's it. I mean, I have some more definitions, but that's it for our building blocks. Everything that we do gets built from these things. So you saw already, you take a point, you stretch it into a line. You take a bunch of lines and stretch it, you get a plane. So if you want to, you all know what a rectangle is, or you have an idea what a rectangle is. If I want to build a rectangle is just a chunk of a plane. I want to build, somebody used the word line segment, we'll define that later. What's a line segment? A line segment is part of a line. Okay, those kind of things. But everything is being built from those 3 things. That's why they're so important. And the frustrating thing is you can't define it. So we're working with things that we don't have an exact definition of. Okay, lastly, I'll fire these off quickly. 2 definitions for you. Collinear, non-collinear. Co, together. Linear, line. Together on the same line. Non-collinear, not together on the same line. We're almost done. 2 more words for you, and then we're done for the day. Coplanar and non-coplanar. Co together, planar, plane, together on the same plane. Non-coplanar, not together on the same plane. Okay, a couple things for the future. I'll talk while you're writing. There is no rule that says you have to write everything on the board that I write on the board. So if you know what the terms mean and or you want to paraphrase definitions, that's okay. I'm never going to ask you to just regurgitate information. Do you understand what I mean by that? I'm not going to ask you on a quiz, define coplanar, where you just have to throw up that statement to me. So if you want to paraphrase, put it in your own words to help you understand what's going on, by all means do that. Also be aware of the fact that there are discussions that happen in class that aren't on the PowerPoint that may involve things that you want to write down. Okay, so don't be married to the PowerPoint where it's just a dispensing of knowledge and everything that you need is on that PowerPoint. So we'll learn over time, like what to write down, what not to write down, what to highlight, what not to highlight. Questions? We don't have time for the practice, but I'll show you the problems and then show you the answer just so you can understand. Part number one is a little bit more difficult than number two, but number two, I think you could all draw two lines and have the point of intersection being Q. The first part is a little trickier. You got a plane with a line going through it, and that point would be the second letter of your first name. So you get something like that. There's the plane, there's the line going through it, and that point where the line hits the plane is called the foot. Now the problem is, since you all decided that you were done and packed up, you might not have written down that term foot. Okay. I'm not done, so therefore you shouldn't be done. We still got 3 minutes left. Okay. Bell rings at 50. Now I will say to the assholes, you can either remember what a foot is, but now I'm done with the lesson. Okay? I was trying to illustrate a point there. Did you get the point? No. Okay, good. No pun intended. Alright, like I said, I'll post the homework for day one on Schoology. I'll also post a slideshow and the video in case you didn't have time to write some stuff down or you just want to go back and make sure you got everything under control. The first couple, well, for the most part, the first chapter is fairly philosophical. We won't have a lot of discussions like we had today, but we will talk about things. I'd like to try and get everybody involved. So you see the discussion today, pretty much 5 or 6 people ran the show. I'd like to get everybody involved. Don't be afraid to ask questions in class and or to offer statements. Also, don't be afraid if I just call on you, and I will do that too. Okay, it'll be a lot easier once I learn everybody's names. If you still need to do the card puzzle or either of the nails, I can give you cards and or you can take a set of nails with you. Those 3 are due at the end of the day, so you have to find some time between now and 3:10 to get those.